Salvete omnes, and welcome to Caesar's Gallic Wars, Book 5, Section 47. When last we left Caesar was organizing some relief forces for the camp of Cicero, and then the relief forces are now going to be moving forward towards Cicero's camp to bring some much-needed help and relief. So let us begin. Hora cerciter tertia, at around the third hour, and then you just go all the way down here, certior factus, which literally means having been made more certain or having been informed. Having been informed by the antecursoribus, having been informed by the advance guard, day, here we're going to translate day as about the arrival of Crassus, eo die, on that day, procedit, he proceeds, 20 milia posuum, 20 miles. He praeficits, he puts Crassus in charge of the legionem, the legion. He puts Crassus in charge of Samobrovia, and he attributes or assigns him a legion, because, and you go all the way down to here, because he had left behind the baggage of the army, the absides, the hostages of the tribes, and the literas publicas, the public documents, and all the grain, which dewexerat, so here we have a relative clause, which he had brought for the purpose of enduring or tolerating the winter there. Here we have causa plus the genitive of the gerundive, meaning for the sake of here. So he puts him there because he had left all this stuff behind. Fabius, ut imperatum erat, as it had been ordered, a little pluperfect passive there, having delayed non ita multum, not much at all, meets him in itinere, on the journey, or on the march, cum legiona, with his legion. Labienus, in territu, here we have an ablative absolute here. Sorry, I should have had a little block there for the to show your ablative absolute. With the death of Sabinus and the slaughter of the cohorts having been learned. So we have an ablative absolute, so our blues are our ablatives, right? So there's your participle. And then we have Sabinus and cohortium in the genitives. Notice the interlocking word order here, which is easy to recognize because of the, the colors, right? So you can see blue, orange, blue, orange, and that kind of shows that interlocking nature. Now we're going to start here with the cum clause. Cum omnes ad eam trevorum copiae venisset. Since all of the troops, omnes copiae, had come to him, since all of the troops of the trevorum had come to him. And then we have this verb here, verior, veritus, which comes from the word verior, which means to fear. So we're starting a fearing clause. So here we had cum clause, cum plus a pluperfect subjunctive. Then we're going to have a fearing clause, and that fearing clause is going to pick back up. I broke it down for you a little bit down here, and it's interrupted by an if clause over here. So fearing that, comma, if he had made his setting out, his departure, ex hibernis, from his winter quarters, similem fugae, similar to flight, that, fearing that if he had done this, that he would not be able to sustain or to withstand the attack of the enemy. Remittit literas Caesare, he sent letters to Caesar, particularly, I skipped one here. Particularly because he knew because he knew that they were elated by the recenti victoria, the recent victory. He sent letters to Caesar, and he explains. Sorry, let me move this here. He prescribit. He writes or he explains with what danger he would lead the legion out of the winter quarters. Move this too. He explains. He explains or describes the Reim Gestam, the action done in the Eberoni territory, and he explains that, or he teaches or explains that all of the troops of the cavalry and the foot soldiers and all of the troops of the Treveri had settled or had encamped Tria Aemilia Posuum, 3 miles away, ob suis castris, from the camp. Just taking a look. So I'm just trying to see what anything else you might want to know about this passage. If Labienus were making a departure from his winter quarters, they might assume he had decided to flee from fear, and that the Romans were quite frightened, and so they didn't want to make any kind of sudden movements here. But we have a lot of grammar that is a little complicated here, particularly with our when sets and our pluperfect subjunctives, one in a cum clause, one in an if clause. Then we have a fearing clause, which starts off with veritus and ends here with posset. We have some indirect statements down here. So there's a lot of complicated grammar going on in this passage. But that is what's happening with Caesar at this point. The relief forces beginning to move towards Cicero's camp. And so until next time, walete.